Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's the Rubbin is Racing podcast with Spider and Large. Quiggs is in the fucking house sitting next to Spider in Chicago. Ryan Blaney will soon be sitting in the exact seat that Quiggs is sitting in now, and Spider's about to do a masterful job with him. Somewhere in parts undisclosed, we have Moonhead, and then we have Jacob behind the ones and twos helping us out on the production end. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. This summer, cool off with Body Armor Chill, a bold new way to hydrate with no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. Enjoy a new refreshing cooling sensation in 3 impossibly cold flavors: frozen berry, frozen cherry, frozen orange. Available for a limited time. Grab yours at 7-Eleven or a store near you. And then with Mexico in the rear view, let's talk about NASCAR's next exotic destination, and that's Chicago. There's nothing like seeing NASCAR roar through the streets of downtown Chicago, a race experience unlike any other. Catch the stars of NASCAR take a one-of-a-kind street course surrounded by skyscrapers and lakefront views. 40 drivers, including Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, maybe even Catherine Legg, battle it out on the most unique track of the season. The energy is electric. Race day adrenaline meets festival vibes in the heart of the city. Don't miss Zach Brown Band live from the start-finish line Saturday night, part of the Busch Light Summer Music Series. This is more than a race. It's Chicago's ultimate summer weekend. Get your tickets now before they're gone. NASCAR takes over Chicago, street racing, skyline views, music, and more. Get your tickets now at NASCAR.com for the ultimate summer weekend. Buenos dias, guys.
Buenos dias, amigo.
Yeah. Bienvenidos. Whatever the hell that is. How you guys doing? We're back from Mexico. Some of us are a little dented, myself included. Others are sound as a pound. By the way, Father's Day gift. The kids know that I review food. They got me the, I don't know, Jordan hamburgers or something. So it's like a melted cheese on the fucking swoosh, and instead of like holes up front here, the shape of sesame seeds.
Oh, that's awesome.
Isn't that cool? Like
That's
ketchup,
a great gift,
lettuce
Large.
type thing. Yeah. They're finally coming around. You know what I mean? Tens of thousands of dollars in fucking money later. How's everybody doing? Mexico, we're back. Spider, I'm going to go to you first, and we're going to rely on Quiggs and Moon to see how they did with Amazon, but I'm assuming they knocked it out of the park. Give us your thoughts on Mexico, Spider.
I thought it was great, top to bottom. I really enjoyed it. Obviously a new kind of setting for me. Never been to Mexico City. I thought it was awesome. Walking around, seeing some of the culture, the markets, the little street vendors. I had probably one of the best tacos I've ever had in my life. And then Wonton Don and I and Chaps and a couple others, we were live for probably like 4 hours just gallivanting through the streets of Mexico City. So go check out Wonton Don's video. But overall, very, very happy. Unlike you, I felt pretty good the whole trip. So I'm fortunate for that. The worst thing I experienced was just like my head feeling a little funny from the altitude, and I just came back with a little bit of a scratchy throat. But all things considered, great weekend. I thought it was really fucking awesome to see Suarez win on Saturday. In real time, I didn't really know how significant or substantial or big of a deal that would be, but super, super cool to see the hometown guy get it done on the Xfinity race. And I thought for a minute he might have a shot in the Cup race there too. But overall, great weekend. Of course, there was rain involved just for a little bit, and it didn't really have that big of an impact on the race itself, which was great. But top to bottom, I thought a home run. It seemed like a well-oiled machine, and I was pretty surprised that obviously this was, one of the first efforts they've done like this. So it seemed like something they were, everything was well prepared, in my opinion. So overall, great week.
I will tell you, it was the tale of two trips for me, because to your point, I traveled down there seamlessly. Mexico City Airport got me through. By the way, when I got back to Newark, it took me 2 hours to get out of Newark just through the customs and stuff. It was a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
Getting in and out of Mexico City Airport, for being the largest city in North America, fifth largest city in the world, whatever the fuck it was, we got in and out. Our cars got us in and out of the racetrack seamlessly. The hotel that we stayed in was one of the best hotel experiences that I would have had if the shit didn't hit the fan. I know we're going to talk about a certain word today, and that word is shithole. I'm going to tell you right now, my shithole is exhausted. It fucking ruined the trip. It's got nothing to do with NASCAR. It's got nothing to do with the stuff put together in Mexico. It's whatever that fucking bacteria is. I now have gotten that. I've never gotten that before in my life. the Montezuma's Revenge, the Gringo Gallop, whatever the fuck you want to call that thing. It was root beer and a super soaker, man. I have never. You guys will go around and you might not make it at my age, to be quite honest with you, but if you do, you're going to accumulate things that you don't want. I wonder if I'm going to go bald. I did. I wonder if my eyes are going to get bad. Mine did. I don't want to get gout. I did. A kidney stone. I got it. Everything you want, I fucking got now. And I went scuba diving and I jumped on a plane a couple hours later. So I got that face that blew up. Like every little thing. I've gotten stung bad by box jellyfish, the whole fucking deal. And then I go to Mexico for 72 fucking hours and 24 of them were on a toilet. It's fucking crazy, that stuff. If we are lucky enough to go back again, Spider, I am not touching an ice cube. Unless it's the wrapper, I'm not touching anything that doesn't come in a Capri Sun fucking pouch. The food was fantastic. I'm blaming it on the ice cubes because I want to eat again there. I missed out on eating lion with Donnie. That's a dream of mine. So great fucking trip, soup to nuts. But holy shit, I was shitting soup against my nuts the whole fucking end of that trip. I was the only room that had a toilet hose. I showed you that.
Yep.
And I was like, why the fuck did I get this? I almost fucking burnt that thing out. I was cleaning my ass, the walls of the fucking thing. I was shooting it down my back. I was shooting from the small of my back to the back of my knees trying to get this. I created a cuck bench across from the toilet. So when you do number one, then you do number two, and number two always has number one. You can't take a dump without taking a little bit of a piss. Well, then I was doing the number three. So as I'm pissing and shitting, every now and again, I'd shoot myself with the water, put a towel down and turn around and throw up. So I was doing the number three quite a bit. It was fucking awful. That's not NASCAR's fault. A little bit of Mexico's fault. Like, I would get rid of that. Like, people like, oh, build a wall. Build a fucking dam. Don't bring that fucking water anywhere near me, man. The Mexican people were aces. Everybody was so fucking nice and everything was so good. Man, I wouldn't fucking wish that on Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, that's tough, Large. Really
it was
sucks.
really fucking
and
tough.
It seemed a lot of the drivers kind of had similar experience. I know Noah Gragson was battling, and even Blaney alluded to in our interview that at a certain point he didn't feel 100%, but it just sucked because there was so much cool shit that we did that I would have loved to have you present for, and it unfortunately your bowels had other ideas. So right after the race, it was cool because all these drivers typically leave immediately after the race. They go home, especially domestic race. But all the drivers and teams flew out on Monday, so Sunday night was pretty fun. We ended up we had a great dinner, sushi dinner at the hotel we stayed at, and then we went to the Ritz-Carlton to get some drinks, Chef Donnie and I, and literally the entire cup field was there. I shouldn't say the entire, probably like half the cup field. Mm-hmm. I met Catherine Legg, Josh Berry was there, nice. John Hunter Nemechek, Eric Jones, Chase Elliott, AJ Allmendinger, Joey Logano, Zane Smith was there. So really cool. And then we ended up going to Daniel Suarez's after party. So I think it's called like Bagatelle or something. Mm-hmm. They encourage dancing on the tables and everyone's like, helicoptering with the napkins and tablecloths. Very, very fun event. And I'd love to see how much the industry kind of came together this weekend. I thought it was great top to bottom. So it sucks that some people were dealing with, different things.
Yeah. I was, my asshole's raw. I don't know. So anyway, this place was set up, Autodromos Hermanos Rodriguez. It's like it's F1, right? It's an F1 layout. So they have this cool little grandstand that's at one of the S turns before the big straightaway that we have never seen before at any track. We haven't seen a track where kind of the track goes through the grandstands at that one point.
Yeah.
With a gigantic screen that you and I were both on. We did a local media spot with some small Mexican reporter girl where we had to like talk about it. And there was some applause because we're up on the fucking biggest jumbo screen you've ever seen.
Yeah. Shout out Pia. I couldn't really understand what she was saying at certain points, but Pia was asking us questions. And And to be honest, I felt like Rob Manfred at the MLB Finals. You know, when you can hear your own voice on the loudspeaker and you're
Yes.
simultaneously talking, you start sounding like crazy. So between that and the language barrier, I think I just didn't even answer what she was asking. But very cool nonetheless. And large, I would go as far as to say Mexico City might be one of the best street course, road race, whatever you want to call it, layouts that I've seen. That stadium section was insane. You know, there was basically like two turns from that perspective of people sitting in that stands there.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, a massive, massive screen to actually watch the race. So my complaint with road courses is always that it's very hard to get a full perspective of the race, given
Mhm.
that, you know, there's a bunch of turns and it's not a traditional oval. But that Mexico City, I think, did a great job with it because, you know, you have that whole stadium section and they were loud. When I was watching Saturday Xfinity race and, you know, Ty Gibbs and Connor Zilisch were looking like the two dominant cars. And then the field wrecks. And from where we were sitting, I had no idea how it was going to shake out, who was going to come around first. And then I hear the crowd erupt, and I was like,
Yeah.
"No way, no way! It's Suarez!" And Suarez came out of the wreck first. The whole crowd went nuts. I think not enough can be said about Mexico, the Mexicans themselves. Like I would say that in terms of the people that attended, I didn't see a whole lot of American fans there, which I'm not even complaining about. I thought it was
Yeah.
great. It was
Mhm.
dominated by a Mexican market, and I thought that was awesome. When we sat in the grandstands, everyone around there, like we were the only you know, non-locals, and I thought that was really cool. You had guys like Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell getting absolutely hounded by fans in the garage, which I thought was awesome. And I think there's a lot we can take from that. I thought it was great, 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 great race vibe, top to bottom.
Yeah, I listened to the teardown. Like Gluck got I saw Jeff Gluck, a lot of our peers. I think you saw Bob there, right? Pacris, not our
Yep.
peers, a lot of people who are in the same thing industry as us. I saw Jordan Bianchi and stuff, but Gluck was one of the guys. He was like, I was going around to do something, and the crowds just assumed I was maybe a driver or a part of it, and so they surrounded him. He's showing him their hard card. He's like, "This is how I cover stuff," and like somebody had a Todd Gilliland life size cutout. Like I have the
Yeah.
Chase Elliott one here. I don't know if a lot of Todd Gilliland life size. Todd Gilliland doesn't have a Todd Gilliland life size cutout.
No.
He
Yeah, I
looks.
remember he was on here with Noah, and I think you were asking him a question about fans, and
Mhm.
then you asked the same thing to Todd. He's like, I don't know. I don't really like have fans.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't
No,
really have like a following, and they're treating him like Beyonce
yeah,
there.
no
Yeah.
no disrespect to McDowell or Gilliland, of course, but I mean, I would have expected that kind of reaction for Suarez, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, etc. Maybe a couple other guys, but again, not really expecting that kind of reaction or crowd buzz roar from Gilliland and McDowell. So I thought it was great. I love to see the drivers that kind of are underappreciated get love, and I think honestly, I don't know. We need more of that in America. These guys should feel fucking like superstars everywhere they go, in my humble opinion. So it was great to see that um, in Mexico. And we also found a spider doppelganger. There was a guy.
Oh,
I think he was working
holy
for.
shit!
I
That guy
think he.
was you.
I think he worked on the NASCAR Mexico series. But Wonton Don literally went up to him and thought that was me, changed into a fire suit, and then he looked over and I was standing like 10 feet away. So very very interesting. The whole scene was kind of really really cool
There
sight
was
to
some
behold.
there were some hiccups as far as people getting down there.
Yep.
One of the planes had a real shaky start, or they had to land immediately. I think it was one of the planes that SVG was on. There was a couple of people that needed to drive to Atlanta to then get out, so they had to screw around with the scheduling. But NASCAR does that. NASCAR screws around with the scheduling all the time because of rain and other factors. So it wound up being not that big of a deal. Um, I want to say something from the outside, and again, you should be jealous you weren't there because it was that good of an experience. Please don't take my experience because I fucking hated how I was physically. I loved every other part of it. I will say this with utmost confidence. Daniel Suarez is a very, very good ambassador.
The
He,
best.
you see in various sports over the years where leagues will play in countries and there'll be a representative from you're playing in Japan and Shohei Ohtani is your guy. Like, nobody goes and does what Daniel did on the lead up to it, with the videos that he shot on social and on promos, to winning the race, to coming right off the track, winning the race. And he was as gracious to the president of NASCAR as he was to the woman who was cleaning up my vomit. Like, he was absolutely across the board as gracious to his fans. And this was Daniel Suarez. Like, if Todd Gilliland was getting fucking swamped, Suarez in his not hometown, in his native land, was getting swamped too. And man, he did a fucking great job. He did, like, I think it was one of the reasons why that event was so successful. NASCAR owes him one. I think he did a very, very good job with the local people and with the people who are now in where he calls home in the United States. So kudos to him, man. I think that's unbelievable.
I thought it worked out perfect, Large, with him winning the race too. I mean, that was as good as you could have wanted from that Saturday race. And then Sunday, obviously, like I said, drove well and simultaneously hosted an industry event after, which they were extremely hospitable. We had a massive, massive crew with us. And like I said, probably about half of the people by the time the party came around couldn't make it. But, I mean, Julia and Daniel were just unbelievable hosts, not only at the party. They welcomed everyone to the track. I saw Suarez. He was getting swarmed, but simultaneously taking time for everyone, which, is not easy to do, especially when you got a lot of expectations for you surrounding this race. So, yeah, I mean, and
if Rubbin is Racing was hosting an event in Mexico City and someone came over and we said, hey, we'd love for you to come, and then that person had said, can I bring the 12 people I'm here with?
Yeah.
We'd probably say, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
If
Right.
we were talking to people that were like what we are to Daniel Suarez.
Right.
Like, oh, you and Large can come. That'd be kind of cool, but Spider was like, oh, can I bring the other 10 people I'm with? And they were both like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Ariba. And there were hundreds of people who got that same look, just, I don't know. The hospitality was off the chain. I will tell you also, I was terrified for Taylor Gray. If you go back and watch that Xfinity race,
Yeah,
he got into Daniel a little bit when Daniel was, just needed to kind of finish that last lap to come home with the win in his hometown. And Taylor Gray got into him a little bit. I was like, ooh, like nobody would have made fucking eye contact with him, because he would have been a hood ornament for the cartel if he would have fucked that up. And I don't mean that literally, but you know what I'm saying? Man, that would have sucked. If he would have drove through Daniel and won that race.
I love Taylor Gray, but yeah, he thought better of it. I don't even know. I would love to hear from him if he actually had a chance and thought he could have moved him. I mean, I'm sure he did. He was right on his bumper. But even Ty Gibbs, I asked Ty Gibbs after the fact, and he said there's no way you can move him in that situation, which I don't know. I thought it was pretty surprising, especially coming from Ty Gibbs of all people. I thought he would be team get the win at all cost.
Ty looks like he's turning the season around. I'm happy to see that. Like, even we've gone to a couple of races earlier in the season, and as we go into him, like when we bumped into him in Mexico, it was like the most happy I've seen him, right?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like he sort of went into a bubble on the slump, then obviously with the fuel saving, it was like, I could have won that race. This one, it seems like he's in a better place. I'm liking where Ty is. And according to NASCAR Insights, he was the day's top drivers on restarts, while also ranking second in both speed and defense. So he had a great race there.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very happy for him.
Not only on Sunday, I mean, he looked like at some point Sunday he was up front, could really be in contention for the win, but also obviously Saturday, him and Zilish battle was really interesting to watch until, they wrecked each other. But yeah, I think Ty Gibbs might be on the precipice of coming out of the slump, and I'm welcoming it with open arms.
I will tell you that for people who are wondering what the experience was like, that's the only reason we're being so granular with this. Spider and I, we were in a suite that was right by the start-finish line, for all intents and purposes, right above pit row. So a couple of the boxes were directly below us. You can kind of see everybody and whatnot. And during the Xfinity race, when all the drivers were walking to their cars, we were out on the balcony where you'd watch it. And it wasn't packed out on the suite balconies for that. So we were kind of the only people out there. And we're yelling at the drivers as they're going by, particularly since we were a little bit towards the front of the field. So a lot of the guys like Chris Bell, and Connor Zilic and Ty Gibbs and Sheldon Creed, right? Like
Yep.
there were no
Gator.
a little Gator. There weren't a lot of American fans, particularly on Saturday, to Spider's point. So to have me and Spider, not only familiar voices from a language perspective, but kind of familiar voices because we've had every one of those guys on the show, they were kind of thrilled. Like even Sheldon Creed, we were like, fucking Sheldon, the whole deal. He turns around, he had the big ass shit-eating grin, the same thing with, Allgaier and all those things. And I will tell you, we happened to be in a booth with some bigwigs. We're in there with Kennedy and Phelps and stuff. And I had heard Phelps say, that energy that those guys are bringing are exactly what we fucking need down here in Mexico. And I was like, lay off the booze, guys. We have real people here. Don't do anything stupid. I'll be right back. I got to go shit myself again. But the fucking energy that, particularly you, Spider, had brought on the thing was kind of cool. Like, I think it showed how, I don't know, how intimate it was. Like people coming over, what's up, boys? Where you going tonight? Like that whole thing. It was so fucking, the vibes were pristine. So, I just can't eat the ice. That's the whole but it was great. In retrospect, people will see the grandstands and be like, oh, but the grandstands weren't full. There is a different company that ran that for NASCAR, Acessa or something like that.
I'm not sure.
The average grandstand ticket was $60 American. And that priced a lot of people out down there. I think when they have Formula One races or, whenever they're running that track, normally those ticket prices are around $10. So there was a huge premium to pay to get in there. And I think that really explains why that place wasn't packed to the fucking rafters. I also know not all the grandstands were for sale. Like it wasn't the same package like that they would sell for F1. So there was some difference there too. So if it didn't seem as packed on TV, like people are making a huge deal out of the fact that Iowa is sold out again this year. Iowa puts 30,000 people in, so if you go to Bristol and it's half full, you still have 70,000 people. You know what I mean? Like it's a little bit skewed. So I think if they were to do it again, if they bring those ticket prices down, the people who were there this year who had a good time definitely come back. This thing could be a fucking major event. It could be a major event. And, I hate to play favorites, heads and fucking shoulders better than the Chicago street race because the rain stopped. So we actually got to see it the way that they wanted to outside of the first stage. So just all around, pretty good vibes. All right. So largest margin of victory this season at 16.56 seconds for Shane Van Gisbergen. And then he had kicked the ball into the crowd. What a fucking weak kick, by the way.
It was
Didn't even
a weak
make
kick.
it to the grand. What an embarrassment.
I thought it was
Terrible.
cool, Large. We did get to see both Trackhouse celebrations. We've actually seen all of them relatively recently, but this week you had the piñata as well as the rugby punt. So pretty cool.
Yeah, but he's the man. He's the fucking guy. And when they gave him the champagne afterwards, he knew exactly what to do. Like Chase and Chris Bell, P2, P3, P3, P2, weren't kind of as into it until he sort of led the way. Shane Van Gisbergen is too fucking cool, and he's very, very good on those courses. But the conversation remains 33rd in points, and he's in. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, he let me say this: he needed to win that race.
Yes.
Like they pulled up a graphic during that race, and it was just his I think it was his road course finishes, and it was a little bit like, oh, he hasn't done much of anything since that Chicago race, even on road. And it was just it just kind of was like, if he doesn't win this one, people are going to start talking about, does he even really belong? So I think that it was super important for him to get that one, and he did it in big fashion. 16, I think it was like the second biggest margin of victory ever.
I mean, I think it was Kurt and Kyle Busch were battling out in Texas back in 2009 or something. And then, now we've waited now 16, almost 17 seconds that he wins. Absolute fucking shit show. Let me ask you, not shit show, absolutely dominant performance, and congratulations to him. We'll talk about whether or not he deserves to be there, if the playoff system is broke, or if they're playing chess and it works out. But before I do that, when you have a race that's that dominant, particularly in that final stage, how did Amazon handle it? Because inside the suites and whatnot, we couldn't even get the Amazon feed. They have that generic feed up there. So we weren't able to see a goddamn thing, except we could see the Amazon guys stage in the distance. So unless we were the only jerk offs who were kind of standing there, hey, Danielle, hey, fucking, whatever, we didn't hear or do it. How'd they do on that road course for that event, Amazon? You guys watch it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I thought they did great. Like they did an awesome job of showing the pageantry. It also wasn't like that massive lead came pretty late in the race to where most of the race felt competitive and guys were doing. I think I guess the best way they made it seem like it wasn't as big of a blowout was there was some different strategies going on and stops and stuff, and it even though he had the lead, you didn't know, just it was just the strategy game that they were talking about that they did a good job of making it feel close. But no, it was great coverage again.
Oh, good.
And like the cameras and the angles, and there was nothing that they didn't catch, which I'm sure is hard on a track that big. But it
I
was
will tell
great.
you want to talk about strategies. We did the tacos. They were doing the free tacos in the infield that everyone was raving about. And they give you 2 tacos and they give you a plate of French fries that they were frying in lard right there. And the French fries they gave to you with a sauce, which was just chipotles and adobo thrown into a pan with some onion and lemon juice. And then
Ooh.
they buzzed that in a blender and they poured it over the fries. And it's an elite fry. I put out a bunch of food reviews before the shit hit the fan, literally, so you can catch them on my social. But that, so you want to talk about strategy? I was like, man, I could probably go for another one. Spider's like, why don't we go through the media center, through the
We cut
other
the whole
door,
line.
and we cut the whole fucking line.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we were able to double up because Spider's fucking paying attention and living on the fucking fringe of society. Moon, what did you think of the race? What did you think of the coverage?
I love the race. I thought the coverage was really good. I agree with Quiggs that even when it appeared boring, they did a good job of highlighting who was on what strategy and who would, potentially end up where. And I also thought that they did a really good job of, if it was boring up front, if they were racing the shit out of each other for 18th, they would show that instead of just people riding around up front. Is it was a pretty physical race, I feel like, in kind of the mid part of the field. A lot of guys couldn't get away from each other. So that was cool. And then another thing I really liked that they did, and they didn't do it all the time, but at times if they would abruptly cut to a different battle, they would put what corner it was on the screen. And
Really?
I really thought that was cool because I'm terrible with road courses. I don't know about y'all, of like memorizing the corner numbers. Like I recognize where they're at, but
Yeah.
I don't
I
even
don't know the
try.
difference between 8 and 14 on some of these things, but they would put up the corner number. And I thought that was pretty cool. And kind of just little bits of information like that. And then obviously the strategy stuff, and then updates on like the fastest lap, and keeping track just to catch what Larson was doing too. Like I feel like that would have gone unnoticed and been something we figured out on Twitter on a Fox broadcast. But with Prime, they cut to Larson back there behind the pack trying to get a fastest lap bonus point. So I thought they knocked it out of the park.
That's awesome. So the only thing that remains, obviously we did a sufficient amount of blowing Amazon because they've revolutionized. I even bumped into Corey LaJoy. It's like, hey, look, you can't see the head of my cock in these pants. So apparently they're looking, like they're listening and taking our taking our suggestions. What the fuck's gonna happen after Pocono when we go, TNT, USA, NBC for the rest of the season? Did those guys now just rob from Amazon? Because everything's in place already. We know exactly who's going to be in the TV ads, who's, the whole crew. But what does Lee Diffie do different? Even though that was considered a step up from the Fox broadcast, is there something that they can rob from Amazon to make it as enjoyable of an experience, you think?
I don't know about Rob, but I think the way they cover the in-season tournament is going to be what kind of sets them apart.
Oh, right.
Because they're jumping straight into that, right?
Yes, they are.
So I think that'll be
that's
kind
good
of
for 'em.
their way to like either show how good they are or maybe they mess it up. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
But
kind of hoping because I want to keep this good mojo going. I know it only scored a 73 on that Gluck poll, but I think a lot of people see the ending and see what I don't know. What a
I
dominant
thought
performance at sometimes.
it was great for the actual sport large. If you look at Jeff Gluck posted viewership for the races this weekend. The Mexico City race had 2.1 million, whereas F1 had 1.5 and IndyCar had 1.2. And also Amazon saying that it was their youngest audience for a Cup Series race since 2017. So I think by all accounts, it was awesome. Not only did you have a new market in play with, the Mexican locals, as well as obviously a younger demographic, the youngest since 2017. So overall, I think it's been a home run from Prime, and I think it's on the other networks now to kind of evolve or get beat. So I would love to see Amazon continue to grow in the sport, especially if it's bringing a new demographic of younger fans in. I think that's what we need. A lot of NASCAR fans, I feel like at this point, are people that have kind of aged out or used to watch it and now don't watch it as much anymore. So it's all about getting the new fans in. So I think it's a home run.
Yeah, so do I. I think it's great. If you're Justin Marks and you're going into this weekend where I'd heard from a couple people, it looks like Suarez is all but gone next season as they move Zilich up. And then maybe you're using this weekend as a benchmark on what your decision has to be.
Yeah.
And then you have SVG win the Cup one in a dominant fashion, and Daniel put on a great show and win an Xfinity. I don't think it makes his decision any easier.
No, certainly not.
And we're going into, I'm happy for SVG behind all the bullshit that I talk about. And we also have Chicago street course, Sonoma, Watkins Glen, and the Roval coming up. So this guy could pile on maybe a couple or at least maybe another one win. I don't know. If you set the line preseason at 1.5 wins for Shane, I would be tempted to have taken the over. And if I
Really?
set it right now for 1.5, knowing that he has one in the bank at this point in the season, do you guys think he gets another?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say yeah as well. I think Chicago's just too good of a track for him, a place he's won on before in less than ideal
Yeah.
climate conditions, if you will.
And zero experience.
Right. So if we assume that Chicago's going to be hopefully dry, knock on wood,
It's gonna get rained out.
it's gonna. Now that I said that, but like you got to think he's the car to beat, and I don't know. I think for good reason. So, but I agree with you, Large. The decisions that have to be made at Trackhouse just got a whole lot more complicated if they have not already been made, given the success of both Daniel and SVG this week.
Daniel started the fucking Xfinity race dead last.
Yes,
That's a historic
backup
thing.
car. Honestly, credit to
Stickers on. Yeah.
Trackhouse. Although I shouldn't say, like, I don't believe Trackhouse prepared the car that Daniel won in on Saturday. Moonhead, correct me if I'm wrong, but both their drivers, both Chastain and Suarez, have won from backup cars from the back with their most recent wins. So pretty interesting kind of fun fact, if you will.
Yeah, it was like a heroic type of performance out of Daniel and then a dominant performance out of SVG. So congratulations to them both. Congratulations to Trackhouse. It was just very impressive from start to finish. I'll throw out one more thing of flowers before we start to talk about Carson Hocevar, and that's to Chase Elliott. He started the 2025 NASCAR Cup Series season with 16 consecutive finishes of 20th or better. So he's got 16 consecutive in the top 20, which we talk about every year, especially after beginning the 2024 campaign with 19 straight top 20 finishes. Just remember, his dad has the record at 29 straight. If you want a driver, I know Chase needs to get into the winner's circle and all that kind of shit, but, that many consistent top 20s, not checkers or wreckers type thing. It's got a lot to be said about the consistency. So congratulations to Chase with that. Do you want to talk about Carson Hocevar?
Yeah, I do. So
Okay.
Carson seemingly got himself in some hot water with some comments he made on Twitch. Not the first time we've had something like this happen in the sport, but pretty crazy to me. I mean, obviously, I'm team speak your mind and, free speech, but at the same time, I think you have to be smart about the way you do things. And for him to say some things critical of the Mexico race, despite having a company with Mexican ties on his sponsorship this week was kind of foolish. And yeah, I mean, I guess I'm equally as surprised by the response. It seemed like Spire's really pissed off, rightfully so. Like I said, the sponsors were impacted. Obviously, you don't want your driver saying anything too dumb, but it's just interesting situation. I mean, obviously, the lengthy apology, and then Spire also, they said they were going to handle it internally. I believe he was fined $50,000 and has to take some required classes or something like that.
Bias awareness training.
Yeah,
Oof.
yeah.
The old bat.
They should have done like a parent thing where it's like we're taking his PC for 2 weeks.
But
The thing that
did you listen to the Twitch stream?
No, I didn't hear the
Yeah.
clip.
So I listened to it, and I don't think he was overly negative. I know he used the term shithole.
Yeah.
I totally get that he did, but he's a kid too. I bumped into, like you had just said, all those people who were at the party with you or at
Yeah.
the Ritz Carlton. Like I was in Animal on Saturday night with Blaney, Bubba, Chase, Swan, and Austin Dillon. And then I came out just to get some air afterwards. And who walks by me just eating a fucking Krispy Kreme in a pair of shorts and a black hoodie, just walking the streets of Mexico City as happy as a fucking clam, but it's Carson Hocevar.
Yeah.
He's like, this is fucking awesome. That's how a kid who doesn't leave Michigan experiences anything. Like France is filled with people who fucking hate Americans and smell like cheese until you get over there and you find out that they don't smell that much as like cheese. They still hate Americans. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's a fucking learning thing. And when he apologized, I thought the apology was actually pretty heartfelt. It wasn't written by AI.
I was going to say, I like the fact that he seemingly wrote his own apology.
Maybe a kid that's never been out of the country should ever give an opinion on what any place is like other than Portage, Michigan. Now that I've actually left my hotel a couple of times and raced here in front of the most passionate fans I've ever seen, my opinion has changed. I'm embarrassed by my comments, by the race I ran, and I may have to move here to hide out from Ricky Stenhouse anyway. If anyone should give anyone or any place the benefit of the doubt, it's me. I'm sorry, Mexico City. Consider me an ally going forward and an example of getting off Twitch and actually seeing things with my own two eyes. That's extremely fucking well written. If my kids wrote me that apology after fucking up, I'd be like, all right. You know what I mean? And then on top of it, Spire comes in and says they find Carson Hocevar 50 grand. They went to NASCAR and NASCAR said, I think that's fair. We're not going to say anything. We're not going to do anything further. Suspend him or do something. I don't know what the fuck they can suspend him for, potty mouth. But it's one of those things where I think that Carson Hocevar did the right thing here. And I also think that the fucking fine is a little bit egregious. Just to be honest, I think the fine is a little egregious. The young kid said shithole on a Twitch stream. It happens. Fucking happens.
Part of me thinks this is like when a college basketball team will give themselves like self-sanctions just so the NCAA doesn't come down as hard on them.
And it also shows the sponsor.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, do we think they handled it internally so that, they decided how it would go as opposed to NASCAR? The part of me that is upset about this, and it just sucks because, like, now even more so, these drivers are going to be reluctant to kind of say anything other than like, hey, shout out to the 77 Ziegler Chili Chevy. You know what I mean? Like, this was one of the few kind of platforms where we saw Carson seemingly do something he enjoys that's relevant to his brand. And now it's kind of like has a dark cloud over it. So, I mean, again, I definitely think it was something stupid that he said, but he is a young kid. I think he's one of the best drivers. I think he's got a little bit of maturing to do before he's going to be, a fixture in the Cup Series. I'm not saying he's going to lose his job or anything like that, but I mean, in order for him to get promoted or get a better ride, as a lot of people have, rumored or discussed how he's in line for, I think it's going to take some growing up and a little bit more awareness. But I agree. I think, he said something dumb. I don't think it was smart, but I also don't think it was as big of a deal as kind of the reaction says.
I think it's a lot less than like what Larson dropping the N-word on Twitter.
Oh,
right? You know what I
miles.
mean?
Yeah.
And if this thing gets any of the gravitas that did, it's a fucking shame. A
Yeah.
kid can call a place. Listen, we all watched Man on Fire with fucking Creasy. We watched, Sicario. There are certain things that would lead you to believe, and there are places in Mexico City, just like there are places right outside in fucking New York City that are shitholes. There's a couple of towns right around me in New Jersey that are fucking shitholes.
Yeah.
There are shitholes everywhere. So I don't know. I think that this was way too fucking harsh. But to your point, and I know they probably did it just to appease the sponsors and to appease NASCAR, but if it's part of the learning process for him, as long as it don't neuter him, as long as it doesn't take away what's making him to be this headline grabbing, exciting driver who may have the talent to back it up, we just don't know if he has that kind of generational talent, then I think this is a fucking 100% failure. If you want to shit on somebody for saying something horrendously stupid, if you do, about this Mexico race, please go no further than Dave Moody.
Oh, thank you.
Please go no further
That
than
was the
fucking
craziest
guy
shit of the week.
who
I
bounced
missed-
me when I fucking Quigs. Don't fucking talk while I'm getting into Dave Moody. I call this cocksucker. I call this guy, and he pants me on the fucking radio. So I'm already have a bad taste in my mouth. Maybe this is a little skewed. He's the new SVG for me. Then he puts out a fucking tweet on Friday the 13th as everyone's trying to get to the fucking Mexico City, and nobody knows what it's going to be like. No, all we saw was that the fucking haulers met at the border with fucking tanks to roll down to Mexico City. That's all we fucking know. And everybody's trying to get down there in an orderly fashion. And he tweeted, I don't even remember what it was. If Charlotte Airport was to blow up today, or if a bomb was to hit, something like that, then NASCAR would be over, meaning that there's such a concentration of people. That could have been put better, and he's not a 20-some-odd-year-old person. Maybe it's because he's old and he's fucked up in the head, but as a guy who was traveling down there that day, I thought that was so fucking – and all he did was take it down. Whoever the fucking, employs him, make him issue a fucking apology and hit him with $50,000 to give to the fucking city of Mexico or something, because we're burying the lead. A kid – calling someplace a shithole on a Twitch stream means nothing. And then when the kid has the good experience and comes out and tells you about it, that means everything. When a fucking dinosaur says a terrorist fucking thing, that means everything. And the fact that all he did was delete it means nothing. So that guy should be the one eating a fucking proverbial dick right now. Does anyone disagree with that?
No, Cook.
No.
Cook.
He doubled down too. I don't know if you saw before he deleted,
Of course
he
he
was
did.
responding to people telling them they were overreacting.
Yeah, exactly. I did see that. Fuck that guy. Honestly, I can't imagine that anybody would disagree with me when I say I just dropped my phone on my keyboard. It just erased everything that I fucking wrote, by the way. So
Oh,
we're
no.
raw dog, and I think I still have the whatever. Thing.
Have you ever flown with Caleb anywhere before?
No.
He always wears Marshall gear when he flies.
That's crazy.
So
Right.
it makes me laugh every time.
There was a guy on our trading desk that every time you went to fly, and back in the day, you used to be able to, like, for a couple of dollars, take out life insurance whenever you flew. It's as you were getting your ticket, you had a thing where you could say, just like you could protect your trip now, and you never click on. Back then, it was like, would you like to $5 for life insurance on this? And a lot of people would just sign up for it, and you get like a guarantee fucking thing for whatever. There's a guy on the desk. Anytime you go on a thing, he'd be like, here's $5. Can you just sign up and just put me as a beneficiary? Like, to everybody. He'd do it to fucking everybody. And I thought even that was fucking cheeky.
That
And
is
listen,
crazy.
I was in town for 9/11. I don't know if you guys knew that. So fucking planes going down, maybe I'm a little bit more, whatever, sensitive to this than other people are. But I don't think so. I think this guy, the more that I know about him, and I know nothing about him. I don't know if he used to drive. I don't know if he used to fucking work a glory hole in fucking Bristol, Tennessee. But everything I know about this guy is just worse and worse and worse. Fuck him. I'll buy a Carson Hocevar shirt tomorrow. You know what I mean? Or let's move on. Carson Hocevar, second time, he's fucking with Ricky Stenhouse. We spoke to Ricky before the race. We had gone to some like meet and greet where it was Ricky and Kyle Busch were the two fucking drivers that they had go meet a room full of Mexican dignitaries. We were able to kind of get in there, just, try and get some free food. And I was like, Ricky and Kyle Busch, what the fuck is this about? They two punch. And Ricky was like, we got to do something at Barstool, do something athletic and all that stuff. I was like, why don't we go to a buffet or something, Ricky? Why don't we got to play to your strengths? But he was like all pumped up to get into this race. Very, very positive. Man, that fucking changed on a dime. He is fucking steaming. Is it justified? Is it that bad? Did he handle it correctly? What's your takes on Ricky the Dragon Stenhouse versus Carson, whatever, Hocevar?
So a couple things. I mean, first of all, I thought it was funny. I asked Ricky before. I was like, they got you and Kyle Busch in the same room? Mm-hmm. And he downplayed it. He made it sound like they were cool, which is important context, because after the race I spoke to him and he was asking me about Rough and Rowdy and see if him and Carson can do something for charity, which I'm going to run up the chain here as soon as we're off the air. But my point is, it seems
actually,
yeah, I swear to God. Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
So it seems like there's real beef between him and Hocevar. Whereas, a guy that he actually beefed with, it was just maybe like a one-time, one-off thing. Right. I think the fact that him and Hocevar have kind of had a history of run-ins is what differentiates his opinion regarding this situation. I mean, I kind of have to eat my words, because I kind of agree with Ricky, as much as I said in previous weeks that I think he should just, go after him the first chance he gets. He didn't do that, and instead he said, when we're back in the States, Carson's going to get his ass kicked, or something to that tune. So part of me kind of agrees. You don't necessarily want to go to Mexico and start a brawl. Right. And who knows what's to come of that. So I kind of agree with Ricky's position there. He still let him know, and climbed in his car basically and let him know that he was not happy with him, which is kind of good enough for me. But I remain of the opinion, unless this kind of comes to a head or there's retaliation or even a Rough and Rowdy bout, something needs to happen, because like Quig said, I'm tired of seeing these guys just talk about how much they hate each other and what they're going to do, as opposed to just ruin a guy's race or actually punch him after the race. So,
I will say I do have a feeling it may actually happen in Pocono.
Yeah. Dude, I think we'll see. I mean, that's
the meter, the burn bar is going up. Its likelihood of happening.
Now that's big, because Quiggs is the type of guy, we've talked about this before, Quiggs. It's easy to say that right afterwards during the road rage, but it very rarely has follow through.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you've always been skeptical on the follow through. It usually ends with the words by the car afterwards.
Yeah.
But now you think it's to the point where we have something.
I just think there's been enough warnings, and it's also Stenhouse, who it could happen on accident. I don't know.
Stay tuned for our Blaney interview, where I asked Ryan who he would take in a fight between those two.
Ryan Blaney interview coming up in just a couple of minutes. Please stay tuned for that if you're sick of me talking about Dave Moody. But so whose side are you on? Take into not who do you think the better driver, who do you own more t-shirts from, whose side are you on in this? I'm going to go around the room. Spider, you're going to go clean up. Moonhead, whose side are you on?
Ricky.
You're on Ricky's side.
Yeah.
Quiggs, whose side? Why are you on Ricky's side? Is Hocevar out of fucking control?
Yeah, I mean he was a lap down. Like, there was one car on the track he didn't need to wreck, and he wrecked him not even on the same lap. So
whose side are you on, Quiggs?
Ricky's, but keep doing what you're doing, Hocevar.
Yeah, and again, this isn't a favoritism type thing. We're gonna have both these guys on the show at some point, down the road. So we're saying just in this case,
situational wise, Ricky.
Spider, whose side are we on?
Yeah, sorry to be, follow everyone else, but I'm going Ricky as well. I think that Moonhead pointed out important context. Hocevar lap down, and also if you look at where Stenhouse was versus where he is now over the last couple weeks, he's had some pretty tough luck. He, I thought he was having a pretty good season, all things considered. Single car team. It doesn't help when someone of your own manufacturer comes and kind of consistently makes it hard for you to be successful, and even takes you out of contention for a playoff spot. So I'm definitely team Ricky. I mean, I see both sides of it. I also see, obviously, Carson, like Quig said, I don't want him to change anything. I love the way that he drives. And at the end of the day, I'm not the one that has to deal with it. It's not me that's, my car's torn up or anything like that. So I welcome all the drama. It just seems like there's a frequent recurring theme of it kind of being provoked. Is that even a word?
Provoked.
Provoked. Provoked.
Provocative. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I got it.
that was an L. Provoked by Hocevar, who again I like a lot, and I think we can't discount the excitement and drama that he brings to the sport. But I'm also empathetic of Ricky's position when it's at his expense, time and time again.
I'm a fight fan. I think if this thing happens as a street fight, Ricky Stenhouse wins. If they put on gloves and they want to go by boxing rules and stuff like that, that fucking long arms of Carson Hocevar.
Yeah,
You mentioned Rough and Rowdy to me right now. You got the fucking wheels spinning. Spider, all I can think about is these two guys in headgear right now.
yeah.
You know what I mean? We
I
set
mean,
it up.
that would be awesome.
Yeah, but I mean, Hocevar, is he left-handed? Oh, if he was southpaw, I would fucking bet the house on him responsibly. Bet a responsible house on him. Just to kind of keep Ricky at bay and every now and again just take the safety off that motherfucker. But Ricky, otherwise, I think Ricky is kind of like that jujitsu motherfucker who'd get behind you and tap you out in a sec, but not let go right away. I think Ricky, it's one of those ones where, yeah, like one of those, like, you gotta hit him a couple
yeah,
times
Uncle.
to teach you a little fucking lesson. Either way, I'm fucking here for it. The Spidey scoops on the latest rumor, Hocevar to Hendricks in the 48.
That's
Alex Bowman.
That's a large rumor, no?
No, I'm asking you, Spidey scoops. How do you rate that? I heard that today. It's there's something about a Henrik like website or something where there was a picture and there was like a Chili's thing in it or something.
Oh, really?
And people are reading into it. It's very, very like obscure. But Carson Hocevar to the 48 replacing Alex Bowman. Think about that now. I must have been the only one that fucking saw it. But is that something that Spidey scoops from A to F at this early date where you're just hearing it for the first time, fresh in your mind? This is how I like to get you. What grade do you give that rumor? That's not yours. I totally get that.
Yeah, I would give it a D right now.
D, I got it.
And I mean, I could see this happening by all means, but I don't think anytime soon. As far as I'm aware, there was big controversy, and I feel bad for Bowman. He's always got his fucking name in the crosshairs in terms of people trying to replace him.
Yep.
And it seemed like last year it came to a head to the point where I think it was Jeff Gordon got in front of the media and was like, we are standing by Alex Bowman. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he signed a multi-year deal. So I don't think he's going to be shown the door at the end of this season or maybe even the end of next season. But I do think at some point that's a storyline that could theoretically happen. Bowman's 32 years old, which is not super old, obviously, but at the same time, Hocevar is 23, 9 years younger, and seemingly out of all the young kids on the series that have similar experience, has found speed the quickest. So I definitely think he's one of the guys that has some of the highest potential. But as I said previously, I think he's got some maturing to do. He's got to kind of, find some sort of balance while also being fast, but also not pissing off the whole field. And also not do stupid shit off the track like we saw and talked about previously. So I could see it happening in years future. I don't have any reason to believe it's going to happen immediately. But I also simultaneously think that Hocevar is a guy that should be considered for better opportunities, better equipment, a better team. So who knows? I would like to see him hopefully go to a flagship tier 1 team. Ideally it's with Chevy and, it is Hendrick at some point, but at this point, I don't think it's going to happen.
Is he so young that it doesn't have to be Chevy? I mean, because we've had we're not having a boring, but last year, the silly season stuff came early and it came hard. With the Stuart Haas stuff, there was so much stuff going on with, people selling charters and all that shit. This has been relatively tame. There's been a ton of headlines about the 2311, lawsuit. I just don't understand them, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it's been an otherwise boring, silly season. So like we're 10 races left in the regular season and Brad Kay is, behind Ty Dillon in points. Is Hocevar that young of a guy that he can be mentioned in any of these stupid rumors? Hocevar to the 6, right? Like that.
Honestly, Large,
I don't know.
Nothing would surprise me. I go back to the day I learned that Tyler Reddick was leaving RCR for 2311, and that was, stunning. I didn't expect him to make the jump, and I don't think really anyone did. I think most of the people in the sport were stunned and surprised by that, and that was pretty much one of the few scoops I feel like that was kind of kept under wraps. they did a great job about not letting that get out. Whereas, as you said, a lot of times we see the writing on the wall in terms of silly season rumors and kind of the driver carousel that goes round and round every year. The other thing I would say is I would not pull the plug on Bowman so quickly. I mean, you look at his stats this year, it seems like he's been feast or famine. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top 10s, 2 of which were top 5s. And then the rest of the races, he's finished north of 26th. So, I mean, good and bad, but a guy who's kind of knocking on the door like that, he won last year. Granted, I understand it's probably the best team in the sport, and they have super high expectations for their drivers, especially in terms of wins. And we really only seen that from Byron and Larson this year from Team Hendrick. But I don't know. As much as people call me an Alex Bowman hater, I don't think he's, I don't think this rumor is justified just yet. I think if Carson starts rattling off wins in lesser equipment this early on, then that might expedite the conversation. But I don't think you pull the plug on Bowman just yet.
That justifies the D. That might even go D minus.
Yeah, right? I really don't see it happening. And I probably would enjoy seeing it happening. I would love to see what Carson is capable of in a top car, and just how much better he would be in Hendrick car versus Spire car. But I don't think it's going to happen, at least not immediately.
Jacob just sent over? Add crew chief to his list of jobs. Dale Jr. will call the shots for Connor Zilic as Marty Lindley serves a 1-race suspension due to a lug nut infraction at Nashville. So one of the first comments of that is he's going to be on the phone with Steve the whole time. Steve, sorry, what do I do here? What do I do here? But it's nice to see that Dale Jr.'s got yet another fucking gig. Right?
He's
Give
the
somebody else
hardest working man in show business.
Really is. He just doesn't stop. If you guys don't mind, we're going to move on to the interview. We're going to go 3 wide with Ryan Blaney, and it's brought to you by Blue Chew. Guys, enter the room dick first. Whoa. Blue Chew isn't just a tablet. It's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting, like someone gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. This ain't a supplement. It's an erection resurrection. Whoever wrote this copy, I'm on board with this 100%. Yeah. Might have been Carson. Guys, this isn't just about performance. This is about legacy or third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. You know, when you lay it down, they're talking about how it gets up. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use promo code Rubbin at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time.
Hell yeah.
Head to BlueChew.com for details and safety info. And thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. And what's that? Now that we're all bricked up, let's go talk to Ryan Blaney.
All right, pleased to be joined alongside driver the number 12, 2023 NASCAR Cup Series champion, Ryan Blaney. Ryan, how we doing?
Good, man. Always good to see you. Thanks for having me in the HQ today.
I feel like we're like best friends at this point. I hang out with you more than some of my actual friends.
Dude, I feel like I've seen you more in the last 2 months than I have in like the 5 years I've known you.
It could be worse. I'm not complaining at all.
That's true.
Fresh off Mexico City, let me start with, what did you think of the race and the international efforts this past weekend?
I personally enjoyed it a lot. I got to go down to Mexico City probably 2 months ago to kind of check out the racetrack, do a lot of things around Mexico City. And I loved it then, just kind of getting a lay of the land, and then to go back and then doing, being in compete mode, getting to learn the racetrack over a few days is always fun. Being able to take in Mexico City, as much of it as you can. I mean, Mexico City is huge, right? So, but I just thought that was a neat experience. I always like visiting new places. I love traveling in general, especially to new countries and new areas, and just kind of seeing the culture of it, right? How everyone operates and stuff like that. I thought it was a great success. I know I had a blast. I know a lot of the people that came to the race, it was a lot of their first times to a cup race in general, and maybe even a NASCAR race in general, and I think they had a blast. So they really welcomed us with open arms, and I had fun. Did you guys have a good time?
I had a great time. I had a great time. I think everything you said is spot on. It was really interesting for me to see some of the drivers that I feel like the domestic audience takes for granted be treated like international superstars.
Yeah.
I saw Todd Gilliland and Michael McDowell getting absolutely hounded in the pits. Those videos were awesome to see. And at some point, Chef Donnie and I went to the stadium section, sat in over there, and just to see like the locals show up and sell out that area was awesome. I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, I think, you know, when you go to a different country like that, you know, and for the fans there to get to see the drivers that they've only ever seen on TV, like that's a huge thing for them, right? It's like they watch these people, maybe they love this certain driver, they've never been able to meet him or go to a race in person, and for it to come to their town, like they're over the moon excited. So they were so pumped up to be there, and as a driver, like it makes me feel really good that they're really excited to have us. So it was a great weekend overall.
Were you getting swarmed like those guys? I don't know if you saw those clips. I think Jeff Gluck posted them.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't walk through the garage, you know, without getting swarmed. But I love that.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you go to a new place like that. I love just the excitement level of people who get to meet, you know, other folks or drivers that they enjoy watching on TV, like in person for the first time. That always makes me feel pretty good.
So one of the things that about our show is we're always trying to bring new people to the races or onboard new fans. This is not my opinion, but in the suite at the NASCAR Mexico City race, one of the feedback that I heard obviously was mostly 99% great. A couple people were saying the race was too long. Where do you stand on this?
I think it could have been cut a little bit.
Okay.
100 laps around that place is a lot.
Yeah.
I think you could cut it down to like 80 laps, and it's going to be just as good of a race.
Yeah.
So I definitely could see it being shortened just a touch, but it's hard. It's hard before you go there. When you go there for the first time, you don't really know how the race is going to flow or things like that. But yeah, I think if you cut it by 20 laps and make it 80, I think you're in a good spot.
Would you want to run it back in Mexico next year, or do you think this is something that we should kind of try to pick a different destination year after year?
Yeah, that just depends, really. Like, I would have no hard feelings going back to Mexico City. I know there's talks now that now that we've done an international race, it's where else can you go international? You know, do you go north? Do you go east, like to Europe? It really just depends where you want to go. But we've proven logistically it's difficult, right? It's just a lot of miles to go, and if you go overseas, then that's a whole nother can of worms that you have to open. But Mexico City, honestly, had my vote.
If it were up to you, would you put Mexico City where Bristol was this year, if I'm not mistaken, where you have a week off directly after that, so it's easier for the teams and maybe you can enjoy whatever destination it is?
Yeah, I would definitely be on board with that. It just gives, you know, the teams a chance to reset, right? Because we flew home Monday morning. We all got back Monday night. You can't be in the race shop Monday because you're traveling all day. And so the turnaround time for the trucks, to get back, you know, was a long time.
Yeah.
For the crew guys to get back to start working on. But, I mean, our Pocono cars for this weekend were already pretty much built because we knew it was a tight window.
Right.
So I would like to see maybe it's a week off after an international event just to give everybody a little bit of a breather, time to reset, mostly the truck drivers. I mean, those guys are rock stars. I don't know how they do it, how many miles they put under their belt, you know, traveling every single weekend. So, yeah, that would be a good idea, have an off weekend after an international race for multiple reasons.
Absolutely. One thing I love is that NASCAR is not only exploring new venues, whether it be international or new racetracks, but also going back to ones that have kind of been left for dead, if you will, whether it be Bowman Gray, North Wilkesboro. And I know that some of these tracks I'm going to mention here in a minute are not really of that same category, but they are tracks that you used to run on that no longer race on. Road America, Auto Club, which obviously RIP, Kentucky, Chicagoland. If it were up to you, or maybe one of those tracks, or is there another track that you would like to see NASCAR re-add and revitalize?
Chicagoland.
Yeah.
All day, every day. I loved that place. They put on such a good race, and, you know, they went away from it for reasons unknown to me. Honestly, probably the Chicago street race. They probably went away from it for that, which is great. But I would love to see Chicagoland come back on the schedule just because I thought it was such a cool racetrack.
There's rumors as of this morning, Jordan Bianchi reported San Diego might be the next destination for a street course. Would you be okay with that? And if Chicago leaves, would you be content replacing it with Chicagoland, something for this local audience we're in right now?
I think if that's the case, I would definitely like to see something be in Chicago area in general.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if that happens and, you know, we end up going to, you know, to San Diego, And if the street race here goes away, I would like to see something stay around the area. And I know it's in Joliet, but that's only probably half an hour, 45 minutes outside the city.
It's not too far.
So you got to keep something here. I think the people here deserve it.
Yeah.
And it's important to stay in this area.
Absolutely. So outside of San Diego, I guess, do you know anything about what that race would look like? Have you been to that area before?
Honestly, it's the first time I'm hearing about it.
Okay.
Was this morning with the post on X. So
yeah.
I don't really know anything about it.
Okay.
I can't say I've even ever been to San Diego.
Me neither, which is why I'm kind of excited. I think that would be cool excuse boondoggle to get over there.
Yeah, and I know they want to get another race in California because Fontana went away, like you said, RIP to that racetrack. And
that one was awesome.
It was so cool. That place was great. I'll never forgive them for taking Fontana away from us. But we run in Sonoma. We'll be in Sonoma the week after Chicago street race. But that's kind of Northern California, right? They want to get it somewhere else as well. But yeah, I don't really know much about it, what they would do.
How about outside of San Diego? Is there anywhere else where you would like to see a purpose-made street course built? Is there any markets you feel are under?
I mean, people have brought up like, oh, we got to go to New York. I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. Like, I think the Chicago race makes a ton of sense, and you can do it here because you have that park and it's by the water and it's a cool visual. I don't know how you do it in New York. It's too busy. So I don't know where else, like a street race that would be fun to do, that you could actually do it. People are talking about Charlotte, but I'm like, well, we already have, races around Charlotte. You got to go somewhere completely different. Like even Boston, like New Hampshire's not too far away from Boston. Right. So I don't know. I vote keeping Chicago.
I love it.
Somewhere.
I love it. Well, that should be an awesome weekend this year. I mean, hopefully not the last of its kind. Hopefully two things are true. It's not the last, and we get good weather, because I know it's been crazy rain the last.
Dude, I'm hoping for good weather. It's monsooned on us. It's not like it's sprinkled.
Yeah.
It has flooded out there. And we've somehow gotten the race in, which has been good. But like, and for us, like the drivers, we'll deal with whatever it is. If it's raining, we'll go race. If it's sunny, we're going to go race. I feel so bad for the people that come out and watch, that they have to stand there in that rain the whole time. It just dampens literally the whole mood of the weekend. And I know the first year we went, the whole weekend was bad weather, and they had to cancel all the concerts that they had, So hopefully the weather's good for that reason too, because like Zach Brown Band is headlining the concerts out there the whole weekend, which those guys rock, and it makes the whole experience a little bit more full, I feel like, if you can have some good weather for multiple reasons, the race and all the stuff going around it.
If you could hire anyone to perform that concert for Chicago Street Race, who would you pick?
Like my three lineup?
Yeah,
my three
or
guys
even
lineup?
just want anyone. Can build out the whole weekend or just the main concert?
I would love to see. I'm a big Whiskey Myers fan, so I like to see them headlining. They jam too. And then if you got like Sturgill Simpson to open for Whiskey Myers, and like Zach Top to open for Sturgill Simpson, like
those
three guys are pretty
Hopefully
good.
they're listening. That maybe next year we'll get that.
I hope so.
That crew. Your team has had massive success this year despite some tough luck on your end. Every one of the Penske cars has won, including Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers Alliance. What does that mean for the team, or are you more focused on individual success?
It's both. We focus mainly on the 12 team, but you want your whole team Penske and the Wood Brothers to be successful, and that means everybody is clicking right now. So it's nice to have all four of us locked in. All four of us seem to be running really, really well right now, and you just hope that continues and stays. And you never know the ebbs and flows of the sport, but it's nice to have it, and you got to utilize it while you have it, and then you hope you keep it. So it's been nice so far.
I've seen you at the Barstool Classic. I've seen you at WWE matches. The new driver incentive program seems to have you extremely, extremely busy. We're very fortunate to have you just a couple days after the Mexico City trip. What has that experience been like, and has there been something you've done that has been like really cool and didn't really feel like extra work?
Yeah, I think it's been really well received by the drivers and everybody. I think it's been genius, because now you have drivers, we compete every weekend, but you're also competing for something else as well. Like, you're competing to be the best guy that can go market the sport and can go draw more eyes or new eyes on it. And it's when you involve a paycheck at the end of it, you're going to have more guys wanting to do this stuff, wanting to do the extra mile and stuff like that. So it's been fun competition. Like, we're all very competitive, right, in sports, and you get the competition side rolling. And I think it's overall helped gain awareness of the sport, right? Going to, coming up here, people going to LA, New York, stuff like that. I think one of the coolest things I did, a lot of it doesn't feel like work. A lot of it is neat experiences. And outside of coming here, and we'll get that out of the way, when I went to WWE in Kansas City. That was cool.
Yeah.
I grew up a huge WWE fan. I can't say I've watched a ton of it over the last 10 years. But like, going to one of those shows in person was one of the most unique and fun experiences I've ever had. To just sit there and be a fan and just watch all these things unfold. Like, those people are, I don't care what people say, those folks are athletes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what they do and how they plan and prepare for everything, and then just how they go about it. Like, yes, it's a show, but like, it's really physical, attributes that these people have, and they work on it constantly. And seeing them in person is just unbelievable.
Do you have a favorite wrestler? I'm personally a Liv Morgan guy. She rizzed me up at a NASCAR race.
Did she?
Yeah.
We need to hear more.
I'll show you the clip. It's crazy, but yeah, I just asked her simply, "Who are you pulling for this week?" And she got all up in my grill, and I almost short circuited. Yeah. I folded quick.
I would too, dude.
Yeah.
Who am I a fan of right now? Cody Rhodes is cool.
Yep.
He seems like a really cool guy too. I've never gotten a chance to talk to him. I'll tell you who was I can just tell by the crowd pop when she came out. Who's the one with all the tattoos? Ray Ripley.
Oh, okay.
Ripley. Everyone liked Ray Ripley, so I cheered for her. So yeah, I think Cody Rhodes is my favorite overall, and then the crowd really liked Ray Ripley, so I cheered for her.
So one of the drivers in Mexico City, I'm not going to tell you who just yet, asked me to sanction a rough and rowdy match. Them versus another driver.
Oh.
For charity purposes. Do you have any guesses on who it might have been?
I can think of two right now that would sell all the tickets.
Who do you got?
Stenhouse and Hocevar.
That's exactly.
Yeah.
So Ricky came up to me. He's like, "Hey man, like, if you could get me into rough and rowdy,
there you go.
We'll make it happen, like a charity thing."
That's perfect. I think the timing of it is immense.
Yeah.
Like, you got to do it quickly.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting to see Ricky get in Hocevar's car post race there.
Ricky's he's a no nonsense guy, man.
Who would you take in that fight?
I'd take Ricky all day.
Yeah,
Hocevar's got the race advantage. The guy's like 6'4".
But I feel like Ricky's much more dense.
He's a dense Mississippi boy, man. I mean, he's a rough and rowdy guy, man. Like, he could be your poster child.
Yeah, I need to speak to Dave about that one, because I think that would do well.
Yeah, pay-per-view it and everything.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Obviously, it was great to see you at the Barstool Classic at Brickyard Crossing, a track owned by Roger Penske.
Yeah.
Who do you think the best golfer in the field is? And if you could have a foursome of anyone, dead or alive, who would you want to golf with?
The best guy in the NASCAR field, I think.
Don't be humble now.
I don't know how much he plays anymore, but I think he still plays a lot. Denny's pretty good.
Yeah.
Denny's like a 3, I think, or maybe a 3 or 4 handicap. So I think he's the best. Stenhouse is good. And then I think I'm right there.
Yeah.
I'm like 3rd or 4th, I feel like. My dream foursome, anybody?
Yeah, dead or alive.
I mean, you got to pick Tiger.
Yep.
So me and Tiger. I don't care what era of Tiger. I would love to have DeChambeau. Seems like a fun time.
That's a great pick.
And then I'd like to have, God, who's my 4th that I'd want to have? I just feel like the stories, like if you could get like Jack Nicklaus in there, that'd be so cool to hear all the stories about like what was old golf like? What was golf like in the 60s and 70s? I think that'd be a cool foursome.
I think one thing NASCAR should steal from golf is maybe after you win the Masters, the winner gets to pick the meal for the next year.
Yeah.
So maybe like after you won 2023 Cup Series championship, maybe in Phoenix in 2024, you serve the field.
Have a champions dinner too.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So what would your meal for that be?
Appetizers, I would go with Bang Bang Shrimp. And then for the entrees, I would go, I'm a big like red meat guy. So like some nice fillets,
Nice.
like Wagyu fillet. And then dessert, I'm a big like apple pie and ice cream guy.
Love that.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty solid palate right there.
Fillet's your go-to steak, though.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I like ribeyes too, but that's if I want to go like a little bit more fatty.
Yeah.
But if I just want like a full hunk of meat, just a fillet.
Exactly. Yeah, Large, when he hears this interview, is going to give us a hard time for that because I'm team fillet as well.
What is he?
He's like ribeye, tomahawk, everything. You got to do all the work. I just like slicing it like butter.
Of course, he'd be a tomahawk guy. I could see him going out and ordering a $300 tomahawk.
I'm probably not doing him justice right now, but yeah, he's our foodie, resident foodie.
Large, I hope you're feeling better, dude.
Yeah.
I heard your tummy's a little rumbly right now. But
did you experience any of that at all?
A little bit, but I think it was just adjusting.
Yeah.
It's just adjusting to, the cuisine and the altitude. I think can kind of get to you. So I had a little bit, but I think a lot of guys just took a little bit to kind of adjust, but it's part of it.
Yeah. Outside of NASCAR, is there any other racing that you watch and you're like, damn, I would love a chance to one day wheel that or in this race?
Man, I watch all forms of motorsports. Like I just love racing. I watch a ton of IndyCar just because our group has an IndyCar team. I watch F1. I watch MotoGP. Dirt sprint cars. I love dirt sprint car racing. I didn't do a ton of it growing up, but it's what my dad did through the 80s and 90s, and got a lot of friends that are in it or used to do it. And those cars are just super unique. So I'd love to be able to wheel a sprint car. It's been probably 13, 14 years since I've got behind the wheel of one of those, but I would love to do that at some point.
That would be awesome to see. I know you lived at Dale Jr.'s property for a minute.
Yeah.
And obviously your dad drove in NASCAR as well. Between those guys, was there any, or even outside of them, were there any mentors that really gave you career advice that kind of stuck with you early on?
Yeah, I had a lot of great people that I could kind of lean on outside of my dad. And I'd say a few guys that really helped me out getting going in the NASCAR world when I was like 18. Kevin Harvick was a big influence. Tony Stewart. Brad Keselowski was a huge part of like my career. He was the first guy to give me a shot at like the truck series level. So I'd say those three guys really were a huge influence, whether there was just advice or giving me a shot like in the race cars. And I loved watching all those guys too. And being able to compete, with those guys at some point in their career, I thought was a really cool experience.
How about, is there anyone now that you kind of serve as a mentor for, some of these younger kids coming in?
I don't know. Like if they ask,
Yeah.
I'm not a type of person to kind of reach out and be like,
Yeah.
hey man, I think you should do this. Like I'm
No,
just not that type of guy. And it's funny, I'm getting to that age. It's like, damn, I see these kids coming in are like 10 years younger than me. I'm
Yeah.
like, holy shit, I'm getting old.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I say he's a young guy. He's a teammate of mine. I mean, Austin Cindric,
Yeah.
he and I learn a lot from each other. All of us teammates work well, like me and Joey and Josh Berry and Austin and myself. Like we all have this big, great communication kind of circle between us, because I think that's what makes us all strong, is if we all talking to each other and we all kind of learn and ping pong off each other. So yeah, I guess those are the guys I kind of talk to the most as far as like the on track stuff.
We got Pocono coming up this weekend, a place where you've won before. How would you describe this track? I know it's pretty unique. And what are your thoughts on maybe getting another trophy there?
Yeah, it's been cool to win there a couple times. I got my first cup win there in 17, won there last year. That place is unique, right? It's a triangle, and all three corners, turns 1, 2, and 3, are completely different than each other. There's a big debate. Like, would you say that Pocono being a triangle, is there 6 turns or 3?
Shit, man. I don't know. Probably 3?
Yeah, that's how I describe it.
Yeah.
Because your traditional overs turns 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4.
Right.
But there's only like 2 corners. But Pocono, we just really describe it like turn 1, turn 2, turn 3. But I think what makes that place super, besides the shape that's unique, is all 3 corners are very different. Like turn 1 is pretty banked, more of a traditional corner, but after this incredibly long runway of a straightaway. And then the tunnel turn 2, is like this sharp little kink that you can't take flat, you can't take wide open, but it's really rough, really bumpy, hard to get over. And then turn 3 is this really, really flat, long, gradual corner that leads onto that big front stretch. So to get your car handling decent in all three is really tough. So I've always related it to like a compromising racetrack. Like you're compromising what turns do I want to be good in. Like I always try to pick two. I always try to be good in turns 1 and turns 3, and I just try to live over the tunnel. Because I think that's where you're going to make the most time is those 2 corners. And if I can just survive over that tunnel turn, I feel like I'm going to have a decent shot. So hopefully we can do it again. That's a cool place. My wife is, just from outside of there, has a lot of family. We had a bunch of her family there last year when we won. So that was a fun victory lane. So hopefully we can do that again.
That would be really cool to see, and that track looks awesome. Definitely one that I'm trying to get to eventually. Somehow never been there. So
what race are you going to next?
Chicago Street Race.
Okay,
which leads me to my next question. How do you feel about Chicago this year, and where would you rank that amongst the other road courses that NASCAR drives at?
Yeah, I feel good about it. The first year there, I didn't have a good run. I wrecked multiple times. Last year we ran 10th. I ran okay. Where do I rank it? It's the most unique one we go to, road course wise. With it being a street course, there's just no room for error. Like at other road courses, you have room to mess up and run off and, get back on the track and you can keep going. But like Chicago, it's so tight being a street course and the roads are so bumpy. Like there's no room to mess up. So I think that's what makes it just mentally exhausting for me is like you're 110 focus level every lap. And if you lose concentration for a second, you're on a rollback, going to the garage. So I think that's what makes it one of the toughest places that we go in general. And I think it's the toughest road course that we have to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a least favorite road course? Let's say
Chicago.
Yeah.
Just because it's so tough.
Yeah, I feel that. Like you said, I mean, it's the street course, like some of these places you go to, like Mexico or Sonoma, you can run off the track. Like there, you can run into a barrier or a tire.
There's no runoffs.
Yeah,
like so there's nowhere to make a mistake, and I think that's what makes it the toughest, the most challenging. But that's what that place is for, and that's what I think makes it exciting for people to watch, and it makes it a challenge for the teams and especially the drivers when we unload there here in a few weeks.
So NASCAR on Prime this year for the first year. What has your take been on that? Obviously, you're driving the car, not watching the broadcast. But after your win at Nashville, you went on and had some celebratory beers. Yeah. What can you say about NASCAR and Prime's kind of relationship at this point?
I think Amazon's been great.
Yeah.
I rewatch every race. Like I'll get home Sunday nights and I'll rewatch the event, and seeing what Prime's been able to do from the pre-race and then through the race, the coverage of it. The post-race show, which I think is super important to have. And they have a leg up, right? Because it's streaming, so you don't have to get off the air like a network. So they really have an advantage when it comes to that, and they've utilized it like crazy. So to me, number one is the coverage of the race. Is it good? Are you showing all the battles that you need to show? And it's hard to show everything, right? It's not like another sport where it's one play going on and it's 1v1 and it's easy to show everything. Here, there's 40 cars on the track, and you can't show everything, but I think they've done a really good job at that. And then the post-race show, I think, is so cool because you don't only get to hear from the winner. They'll have a handful of other guys on afterwards and kind of get their take on it,
right? And
just kind of describe their day. And I think the commentator cast that they have on it's been spectacular. So yeah, it's been fun. It was fun to have a beer with the whole crew there after the race in Nashville, and hopefully I get to do it again this weekend in Pocono. It's their last race this weekend in Pocono. So looking forward to hopefully going out with a bang.
Speaking of going out with a bang, something your team has done year over year at Phoenix in the championship race. Where do you stand on that race being moved next year to Miami?
I think it's a good move to rotate it.
Yeah.
And there's 3-4 tracks where I think you can rotate it, whether it's every year, whether it's every 2 years, you rotate it. So I think it's nice for that. It's huge to get that race, the championship race, and it's a huge honor for the track to get it. And I grew up with Miami being the championship race, and when I started running in the NASCAR side, it was always the last weekend. But Phoenix has been fantastic as well. Obviously, it's been good to me and Team Penske, but I love Miami as well.
Yeah.
So I think it's smart that they did that, and we'll see where they end up doing as far as the rotation schedule. Like I said, I think you have 3 or 4 places you can realistically go to have a great race and the weather permits it.
Where else would you say? Phoenix,
So I
Miami?
think Phoenix, Miami, Vegas would be a good
That
one.
would be cool.
You know, and then maybe you could go to Charlotte, you know, at the Oval to end the year. So those three for sure, and then maybe like a Charlotte.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's all we have for Ryan Blaney today. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
man.
Good luck in your continued pursuit of another championship.
Appreciate it.
And, don't miss the race this weekend at Pocono. See if Ryan can get another trophy there. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bud.
All right, so that was Ryan Blaney. Ryan Blaney he's a friend of the show by now, right? I mean,
Big
Spider
friend. I consider him like a personal friend at this point, Large.
Yeah, I think so.
I've spent a lot of time with him this year. I also think, we were talking about how good of ambassadors previously, about how Dale Jr. is, as well as Suarez this week with the Mexico City efforts. But Blaney's got to be up there. And honestly, this weekend I was stunned to learn that it's kind of like a three-way race with him and two other drivers for the driver incentive program. I don't know if you guys are privy to this, but I wanted to ask the cast here. What other two drivers would you assume have done the most incentive, marketing for the sport this year?
Okay, so it's Blaney and two others.
Blaney and two others round out the top
Does
three.
Suarez jump up on that list just because of the amount of promo he's done in and around Mexico City, or is that too obvious?
He's not one of the three.
He's not one of three. Okay.
But I also don't want to discredit his efforts.
No.
He was doing a great job with the Mexico stuff. This I feel as though is more of like a full season
Overall
kind
season.
of. Yeah. And the two names surprised me. We're getting some crazy thunderstorms here in Chicago right now.
All right, really?
The whole building is shaking.
It
So
sounds
bear
like
with
there's
me.
construction. That's how I'm getting over here, but that's thunder,
Yeah.
huh? Oof.
Okay.
Stay safe.
Have we interviewed the guys that are on the list?
Yes, I don't believe so this season.
Okay.
Oh wow,
Who?
that
Two
eliminated
Cup
my
Series
guesses.
guys. Two Cup drivers.
Two Cup drivers. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to who's going to be the first one to guess?
Why don't you go first, Large?
Fuck me.
All right, fine. Moonhead, you want to go first?
I mean,
It sounded
yeah.
like-
Well, I was gonna say Hocevar and Bubba, but they've both been here. So
I got
now
one.
I'm kind of blanking because
Brad K.
Large, your guess?
Well, Brad K's not bad. It's not Busher.
He's been doing some like dances and stuff.
Yeah, he has. Brad
didn't
K's
see
not a
any of
bad
that.
guess.
With his well, I guess that's more ads for himself.
Yeah.
But
You know who's been
I'll
doing
leave
a lot of
Brad
shit?
K.
Chris Bell has been doing a lot. Chris Bell is all over NASCAR socials, and some of it's kind of uncomfortable to watch. So I'm going to go with Chris Bell as my. I know there's two of them. I'm only going to put out one guess. I'm going to put out Chris Bell, and yeah, that's my guess. Chris Bell, Brad K. What did you say? Moon?
I'll go with Ryan Preece. Actually, he's been in a
Okay.
lot of ads.
Did any of us get one?
None of you guys got it right. And that's why I'm of the opinion it's crazy and hard to believe, because I think Blaney should be far and away
Wait,
number
it's
one.
Logano.
Logano and Kyle Larson are the two
Oh, wow.
that are in the top three alongside Blaney. And from what I
So Blaney's just
understand,
gonna win.
the points expire, or there's like they reset after Pocono. So this week is a big incentive. We had Blaney in. I think Larson's in LA.
So did he just come here to get a couple points? Is that,
No,
like,
I-
what are the? I didn't know there were points
Oh yeah,
it's a points-based system. So
you
they
win
basically-
money.
for like interviews a point or something.
The more media you do, I don't know exactly how it works, but I
Wow.
did see the spreadsheet, the list a couple times, which all the drivers have on their phone and were happy to share with me. I thought it was pretty interesting that Blaney was joined alongside Logano and Kyle Larson. Not to say those aren't like big names or anything, but from where I sit, I haven't really seen a whole lot of extra stuff from them. We saw Chase Elliott go down to Mexico City early and do some of the stuff.
Yeah.
We had Chase and Bubba in here. Like, I like to think those guys have been toward the top, whereas Logano and Larson, nothing against them personally, I just haven't seen nearly the same amount of output I have from a guy like Ryan Blaney. And maybe it's because, a lot of the stuff Blaney has done has been with us. He's went on After Dark. He played in a Barstool Classic. He's coming in here a couple times. But
Yeah.
I think it's hard to believe from where I sit that it's even a contest between
That's
Blaney
a good.
and
That's a
those
good
two.
scoop, by the way, Spider.
Yeah.
that's a good scoop, and I will tell you, maybe Larson's gets explained away with all the indie stuff
Yeah.
that he did,
Yep.
but Logano it must be like Logano is just opening up a fucking car wash every other day.
Yeah.
You know, hey, come meet Joey Logano. You know, as that type of thing, because we see it a lot more with Blaney. Although I just got hit, I might be seeing Logano this weekend.
Yeah.
We're supposed to have him in on Friday. I'm going to be traveling, but I'm gonna go to Pocono. I'm going to take the kids to
Nice.
Pocono, so it should be kind of fun. And I think I'm going to see Logano beforehand. So maybe that's, you know, I'll put a couple of shekels in his pocket.
He had mentioned he mentioned that he might be going to see you when I saw him at the Ritz-Carlton.
Oh, okay, cool.
He said that.
He's trying to get another point.
I guess so. But it is interesting to me that they reset after this week. I don't know if that means they kind of get points based on this segment of the season, and then those points are compared to points throughout the rest of these
Right.
you know, blocks of time or whatever. I also thought it was really interesting to scroll all the way down to the bottom of the list and see
Ooh.
which driver was dead last.
It's like
Do you-
when Dave checks the blogging
Yeah.
numbers.
Do you guys have any guesses for who was last?
Probably was 0 or like
I think they had like a couple hundred
Kyle
points.
Busch.
It's not Kyle
um,
Busch.
Justin
Like a-
Haley.
Just
That's a
well,
good
just
guess,
did a
but
lot of stuff with Chili's.
Yeah,
Well,
but
no,
that's
because
for
that's
his.
perfect.
Yeah, that
That's
was
true.
For him. He
That's
doesn't,
true.
and like he's not exactly like a bundle of like social like.
Yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
pretty quiet dude. I feel like.
is he
Yeah.
a guy that's locked in for the playoffs?
no,
Busher.
it's Ty Gibbs.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Ty Gibbs.
Oh wow.
Which I would like to see him get it. Honestly, I think that's, and you guys know how I feel about Ty Gibbs. I'm a big Ty Gibbs guy. I was a little disappointed to see that, though. I think, you know, Ty's one of the younger guys in the sport. I think him getting out there and kind of using his demographic would be helpful to grow the sport, you know?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. As a matter of fact, I'm not overly shocked at that. You know what I mean? If that's
He
one of the
might
things,
have been
because
he might have been like second to last. I'm fairly certain he was dead last, though.
yeah. All right, let's move on. You guys want to move on? We got Pocono. We got all three series going this weekend at Pocono, starting Friday night at 5 p.m. with the Miller Tech Battery 200. That's the truck series. You'll be able to catch all the action with that one on FS1. And then we go right into Saturday with the Explore the Pocono Mountains 250 Xfinity Series. That thing's going to kick off at 3:30 p.m. You can catch that on the CW, I believe, still. And then NASCAR on Prime is gearing up for the Tricky Triangle at Pocono. After 5 decades of racing tradition, it's clear that strategy is king at Pocono. 3 legendary turns, 3 unique approaches. Who will tame the triangle this year? I've been to Pocono multiple times just because it's so goddamn close. It's, I don't know, I think it's just one of those fun tracks that people should show up to, and the racing is always great. And it's nice to see Denny go in there and really rub it in their faces. You know, he's painted on the rock. I don't know. It's an all-around good scene for me, so I'm definitely heading to Pocono, and I'm looking forward to it. Don't miss the Cup Series at Pocono, streaming Sunday starting at 2 p.m. Eastern. NASCAR, it's on Prime, and that's the final race for NASCAR on Prime. Oh, you know what? I spoke to Danielle Trotta again, and I think she's going to come on after we have, I think we have Muniz next week, and then maybe have Danielle just kind of wrap up the Prime thing just to see, you know, what it's like to have people just throwing flowers at her fucking feet all day. With that, let's make some picks. Picking the Tires by DraftKings. The NBA Finals are here. This is your last chance to bet on the NBA until next season, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is pulling out all the stops to make this a finals to remember. One team will be crowned champ, and the other will be lost to history. Who you got winning it all? Put your hoops expertise to the test. All season long, DraftKings has been the go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Who's going to carry their team to the chip? Try placing a bet on your personal MVP to drop 30, 40, or over 50. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Lock in your bets and finish the season as a winner. And here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet only $5 to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Don't miss your last chance to bet on the NBA this season. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers to get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. So, Pocono going off. Anybody got any feelings going into the Tricky Triangle this weekend?
I do, yeah.
Give them
I'm
to
happy
me,
to
Spider.
start. I love it that we have all 3 series racing this week. I was actually lucky. I met Corey Heim in Mexico City. First time I kind of got some FaceTime with him. So definitely cool guy. I'm rooting for him. But that being said, I'm not going to take him in this truck race. I just had to throw that in there.
No,
that I met him.
I don't mind it.
I'm taking Carson Hocevar plus 350 to win Friday night.
You're out of your fucking mind, by the way. Can
You
we
think
slow
so?
that down? Hey, listen, I'm about to give my picks. Yeah, I met Corey Heim this weekend, a lovely young gentleman.
But it
I don't
ain't
like him
him.
this week. Yeah, it's not Heim time this week. I'm
Well,
going Carson Hocevar.
I do like him, but the problem is so do the sports books. DraftKings has him
okay.
plus 110, which I'm not going to touch. But Hocevar plus 350, I like that. And then following suit with a guy dropping down a level, Chase Elliott in Saturday's race plus 350. So I like Chase Elliott to win on Saturday, Hocevar on Friday. And then on Sunday, I hate to just be super chalky. I think Denny coming off a week of rest is going to be a big factor, and I'm looking for him. But I also think guys like Chase Elliott are pretty fairly priced. Chase Elliott's currently 12-1. If you look at driveraverages.com, a source that I use when making my picks, in his last 3 races here, he's got 3 top 10s, 1 top 5. He's led 0 laps, which is a little not encouraging, but he's 3rd in average finishing position. And the guy in second is Martin Truex. So technically, he's pretty much second of active drivers in terms of their average finish here. The guy who's first is Tyler Reddick, who has 2 top 5s in his last 3 races here. But for whatever reason, Tyler Reddick, I've been skeptical of this year. Maybe that all goes out the window when he gets his first win, but I'm going to avoid him. I'm looking at Denny and Chase this weekend on Sunday. I've got Chase on Saturday and Hocevar on Friday. The other things I would look at would be top 10s. Guys that I think could potentially get a top 10. Bubba Wallace, who's minus 115 in last 3 races here. He's got 2 top 10s and an average finishing position of 9.7. And then outside of him, Eric Jones, who in 3 races here has a 10.7 average finish, including 2 top 10s as well. So Eric Jones plus 200 top 10 would be something else that I consider.
I love the Eric Jones love.
Yeah. He's a great guy. I saw him at the Ritz too.
He's the best. Yeah. Quigsy, you got?
I got Denny. All the same reasons. Spider coming off rest.
He's done it here before.
Winning for the baby. He's dominant there. And plus 450 is not bad for how dominant he's been. And then another guy that I really like is I was looking at I went last 6 races here, and somebody whose numbers that aren't that different from Denny's is Alex Bowman's. And I'm taking him to win at plus 3,000. I'm taking him top 5 at plus 500, and I'm taking him top 10
plus 110
at plus 110. I'm just going to stack all those. But I think his success here versus what they're giving him on the book is way off. So those are my picks.
I actually love Eric Jones this week. Average starting position here in his last 3 races is 27th. His average finish is 10.7. It's almost 17 positions in the good separate where he starts from where he finishes. Whereas pretty much every other name we've talked about is the opposite. Guys like Chase, I guess that's a bad example, but Byron's average start is 7th. His average finish is 10th in 3 races here. So some of the bigger names I'm going to leave off my card this week, but it's give me Eric Jones top 10.
I hit 2 last week, by the way. No big deal. Daniel in the Xfinity and the McDowell in a top 10. So I'm going to go singles and doubles again. I'll add Eric Jones to my card on a top 10 plus 200, but I'm sticking with Bowman on my card at plus 110.
I like both those picks.
I'm staying with that. Nice. I'm kind of mad that I'm mad that you fucking. And then I don't know if I'm picking a winner just because like the chalkiness of Denny and whatnot, but I think a top 5 finish plus money for William Byron, I have to jump on at plus 110. So I'm going to take Byron top 5 plus 110. So those are my 3. Top 10 for Bowman, top 10, top 5 for Byron, and then a top 10 for Eric Jones. Yeah, so Jones.
I've been really impressed with with Elliott and Bowman recently. It seems like like I said, Hendrick has been, the 5 and the 24 in the league of their own. But this week at Mexico City, Chase finishing 3rd, Bowman 4th. So, been interested to see what those guys can do, and I kind of like both of them this week to maintain the momentum.
What if we? Yeah, I like that too. So Chase Elliott is plus money versus Ryan Blaney head to head.
I kind of love that too, Large. Ryan Blaney in his last 3 races this year has an average finish of 21.3. He did get a win in that time, but he also only has 1 top 5, top 10. Like that win was his only top 5 and top 10 and top 20 if I'm reading this correctly.
Yeah. All right, so that's my card. Moonhead, you got anything big?
I like the Eric Jones ad, but I also, looking at the top 10s and top 5s, I like Ross Chastain for a top 5. I'll probably also throw some money on him to win, and then low hanging fruit, but Denny Hamlin. I know he's the favorite going in looking at it, but I still like the odds. A lot could happen. So Denny to win it, Chastain to win it, Chastain top 5, and Eric Jones top 10 will be mine.
Should I parlay those, Quicks?
Yeah, always parlay everything. That's my motto.
APE.
All righty. All right, that's it for us at, on Rubbin is Racing. I am going to go to Pocono this weekend, so maybe we'll shoot out some stuff from the track. But otherwise, we will see you guys next week. Thank you very much, Ryan Blaney, for carving out time to actually come into Chicago with us, and we'll see you next week on Rubbin is Racing.
Peace.
Peace.